I got a question for you. What does a 1-ton chain hoist, a 1/4-inch shackle hook, some cable clamps, and a big roll of 3/16 100-foot cable have to do with barbecue? I don't know. Come along and find out. All right, so sorry for the terrible lighting. Trying to get the camera to set up to do things out here is pretty tough. So we're gonna do some kind of just on the fly stuff here. So what we've got set up here, here's our tanks. This is the tree that we're gonna use to hoist these tanks in the air. These bottom limbs that we see right here in the center, I've got to get rid of these guys. So we're gonna use this saw right here and trim them out of the way. The branch that we're trying to get to is this big guy right up here, and you just can't see it because the lighting is just terrible, but it's kind of right there in the center. So what I've got to do is get these guys trimmed out of the way, and then we'll be able to string the cable up in the tree and get the rest taken care of. So let's get this done. All right, so we got some tree limbs trimmed out of the way. I was gonna try to film it, but that probably wouldn't have been a good idea. So here we go. So there we go. This big main branch right here is the one that we're gonna look at to get the cable around to pick up our tanks right here below it. So I think this will work out pretty good. So on to the next part. All right guys, so it's the next day. Got out here early this morning. We got all the branches and everything trimmed out of the way last night in the tree. So we'll give you a quick little shot of that there. So you can see I've already got the cable strung up there, but we're around our branch coming all the way down to our tanks. And what I've done here is you see this big pile of red string or pink string. What we ended up doing was pretty simple technique. I just get this string, you can pick it up at any hardware store, and I just tie a fishing weight on it. This one is a 4-ounce weight. I take this and tie it on there, and then I take it and throw it over the tree limb. The other end of the string, I just take and tape onto my cable, and then I just pull this over top of the tree limb. But that brings me to my next point. Anything that I'm doing here is highly risky. I don't advise anybody to do this. If you are doing this, I would assume you have a lot of experience doing it. Possibly, I do. I've worked in the construction industry the majority of my life, so I got a lot of experience doing stuff like this. This is not the ideal situation to do this, so I do not advise doing this at all, but this is what I have at my disposal, so it's what I'm going to use. So just want to put that out there, just in case anybody's thinking that, oh, you know, anybody can do this. Be very careful if you're deciding to go down this route. I highly advise using a shop and a lift that's rated to pick these things up. So that being said, now the next thing we got to do is we're going to have to cut these cable ends. And the only way to cut cable, there's a couple of different ways, but the way I'm going to use is a grinder. So you're going to have a grinder anyway to cut these tanks up. So it's a tool that you're going to have. So let's grab the grinder, make a couple of cuts on this, and show you how we're going to put this together to put the hook and the chain fall on it. All right, so we've got a cable in the tree. We got a couple of tools out here. So this is just a standard angle grinder with a little thin cutoff wheel on it. That's what I'm going to use to cut through this piece of cable. So that way we're not trying to use any type of bolt cutters or anything. Some of those things will cut through this stuff, but I really wouldn't use it. Grinder's the best way to do it. And what you want to do, pull up a piece of the cable here off the ground. So we got our cable right here. All you want to do is just take a piece of like electrical tape or masking tape or anything and just tape it around the cable. So that way you've got a little taped line there, so when you cut this cable, all these ends don't fray on you and go everywhere. So just wrap that up, cut the cable in half, and you'll be in good shape. Second thing that you got to have, you have to have a good pair of gloves. These cables have got strands in them that will shear off when you're pulling it through your hands, and if you get one in your hand, you will regret not buying a pair of gloves. So just keep that in mind. Get a good pair of gloves. It's cheap safety, and last but not least, eye protection. You got to have it. Put this stuff on before you're doing anything like this. So what we've got to do now, we've got everything measured out. I know where I want everything at, so see if I can kind of try to get something set up here. So you can kind of see right there is where we want to cut this guy at. And I've got a ladder set up here on the tree that I'm going to try to get over there to that area to get the cut made. So let's see if we can get this guy cut real quick. Dun, 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 dun. Voila! Fire! All right. And that's it. That's our cable cut. So now we've got our right length. So now we got to get to the next step, which is getting our hook and everything bolted on. So let's get to that. All right, so we got our cable cut. Next thing we need to do is put on a cable clamp. What this guy does is it just takes the cable, it rolls the cable around it, so that way it creates an eye in there that we can actually hook to, if I can get the camera to focus. And then behind that, we put a little clamp on. It goes on the cable like that, and then this bolts on to another little piece. What that does is it keeps the cable from slipping and allowing things to fall, which is a good thing, so because we don't want that to happen. So now what I got to do is climb up here and bolt all these things together, and then we can get our hook put on. So here we go. So let's briefly go over what we've got here to make this entire system work, because I didn't really get a good chance to do that, and I've been kind of fighting a lot of different things. So I'm going to do my best to show you guys what I did to put this together. So we've got our tank right here. This is a 320 gallon tank. And then kind of what I showed before, we've got a 1 ton chain fall right here, and I ended up just getting this from Harbor Freight. I haven't had any issues with it, and it's worked well. Right above that, I've got a piece of 3/16 cable. It's probably about 50 foot long, and it just goes up to the tree branch where we're connected, and then we just got a bunch of split bolts up there that are locking that chain in place, or not locking the chain in place, but locking the cable in place. And then coming down to actually pick up the tank, I've got a shackle here. So I think that's a 3/4 inch shackle. And then that just goes into two hooks. And then we've just got chain coming down into another set of hooks. And I left this chain a little long because when I pick up that big 500 gallon back there, it may need to be a little wider. So, and we've just done the same thing over here. So another hook going into the shackle, coming down, bam, going to the eyes just to pick up on the tank. So that's a rough walkthrough of what I did to get this tank up in the air. So let's pick it up. so there we go. It picks the tank up, it's holding it. I'm assuming that tank is probably somewhere roughly around about 700 pounds. I haven't weighed it, but maybe I will. But it holds, so very happy for that. And ready to get this guy set and leveled, show you that process, fill it full of water, and start cutting some doors in it so we can put some meat in it and start smoking. Throw some comments down there, let us know what you think about this video. And again, thank you so much for checking out Heinz Barbecue. Until next time, keep them burning.